Hi, everybody. It's Dr. Z, and welcome to another episode of Next Up Narcissism. In today's episode, we tackle a topic that I know so many of you struggle to understand the reason behind, and that is, why do people with narcissistic personality disorder routinely sabotage special events in your life? Anything from birthdays, job promotions, graduations, holidays. Why do they do this? So I hope this episode gives you some clarity into understanding why people with narcissistic personality disorder routinely demonstrate this behavior. Everyone, it's me, Dr. Z, and you are listening to another episode of Next Up Narcissism. Today, we are talking about something that happens quite frequently with those who are in narcissistic abusive relationships, whether that is a significant other, a friend, coworker, especially parents in this situation, siblings. And it's something that happens all the time, but isn't always picked up on. And when I work with patients and I see this pattern and I bring it up to them, a lot of times there's very little awareness that there's a pattern to this. So before I get into exactly what it is, let me just say this, that of all the behavior patterns of narcissists, this one is probably the easiest to predict and probably one of the easier, I'm not going to say easy because it's never easy, but easier events or situations to set boundaries with. And that is the narcissist's ability to ruin special occasions. Narcissists routinely will do what they can to sabotage an event and a holiday, anything that's important to you. So before we get into why they do this and all of that, I want to give you a couple scenarios where you would see this happen. We see this very often when somebody is, let's say, promoted at work. Let's say you get a promotion and you're super excited about this. You've been waiting for this promotion for years and you finally get it. You have been working so hard towards this. And let's say in this case, your significant other, you tell them, they congratulate you, right? They act appropriately initially. But then a week later, let's say, they start to engage in behaviors, let's say, that start to compromise your concentration or your sleep, or something happens to your car and now you need to go get something fixed, or, they get really sick and need you to help take them to doctors. Something happens that starts to interfere with your job. And it's subtle. It's so subtle because it may be a week or two later. Because I'm not talking about you get a promotion and they freak out. But they'll do it later in very subtle ways that if you are not aware of the nuances of narcissistic behavior and manipulation, you very well may miss because it's sneaky. It's so sneaky. And, again, this is why I do this. I do this so that I can educate people on these patterns so that you can spot them a mile away. They may do things like lose your laptop. For those of you not watching, you can see it on YouTube. I'm doing air quotes, not watching. So they may hide your laptop and say they can't find it. They may break your laptop. They may delete things off your computer. They may call your office or show up to your office or make embarrassing comments at office parties or in front of your colleagues. Again, anything having to do with work or anything having to do with your relationships with your coworkers and things like that. So again, the most important thing about this is that you recognize that the sabotaging doesn't happen immediately at that time. Okay. It could very easily pop up later. So I just want people to be aware of that. So events and things and important things that narcissists are notorious for ruining: holidays, so Christmas, Thanksgiving, Easter, birthdays are a big one, weddings, engagements, promotions, like we spoke about, things like graduation, things like funerals. Yes, funerals. So why? Why do narcissists routinely ruin special occasions? Well, the most obvious one, right? And the one that people would probably guess first is that because they're not the center of attention. And that would be one of them. You are correct. During these times of joy or celebration or, good things happening to somebody else, celebrating momentous occasions, the narcissist is not the focal point. The narcissist is the observer in those situations, an observer of other people's emotions. And I say emotions because it's not about the other people necessarily getting attention. It's about the narcissist not being in control or have power over the situation. And obviously with that comes the attention on them that they're not getting. Yes, but it is more about the idea that, to take the promotion, for example, they have no control over your job, your career. They have no control over whether you get a promotion or not. Sure, they can try to talk you out of it, make you feel guilty for working more hours, yell at you that you're not home as much, that you don't care about them, embarrass you at, like I said, office parties. They can do a ton of things to impact that promotion that you got. But they really have no control over whether you get it or not and whether you accept it or not. So it's more about they don't have access to your emotions. They don't have access to your thoughts because the event is out of their control. And what is the primary way for them to gain control and power over you in situations that don't include them or involve them? To sabotage them, to figure out ways to take your thoughts and your feelings away from the special occasion and directed towards them. For example, let's say that you are going out with your girlfriends that night. You haven't seen them since college. You're so excited. Everybody's flying in to see each other. And you're about to go out, and your partner says that they are really sick. And they are locking themselves in the bathroom, pretending to be sick. They are even taking medicine to make you think they're sick. They're complaining. They're, in bed, not getting out, not showering, whatever they're doing to make themselves look and appear sick. And it's not necessarily that they don't want you to go out with your girlfriends because they're scared you're going to cheat. They're scared you're going to, forget about them or that you don't love them anymore. It actually has nothing to do with that. It has to do with the fact that they don't have control or power over that situation, and they don't have control over you in that situation. So what can they do to gain control over you? Well, let's say that they make you feel so guilty that you stay home and take care of them because that's the button they push for you. They know that you are a people pleaser, let's say. They know that you are very nurturing and that it really hurts you to see people sick. So you stay home with them. And they sabotaged your plans. But again, it's not so much about the not going out. It's he was able, or she, but I'm using a he in this example, was able to control your decisions, control your choice, control your thought process about going out or staying home, control your emotions. That is what it's about for them. Now, let's say that you did choose to go out despite them saying that they're sick. Now, because they caused such a scene, and let's say you had a huge argument before you left, they know that when you're out, chances are you're going to be thinking about that fight. You're going to be thinking about coming home and having to fight again. Are they going to be mad? Are they not going to be mad? Are they going to do something to try to get back at me? Am I a terrible person for leaving them at home? Does a good girlfriend or a good wife or good husbands or, good boyfriends leave their significant other at home when they're sick? Who does that? So even if you go out, they still gained control and access to your thoughts, even if they are not physically present. All it takes is that litany of text messages, the novels. When are you coming home? I can't believe you left me, blah, blah, blah. List and list and list of text messages over and over, or calling you nonstop to the point where it really just screws up your entire night because you are dealing with this in addition to being out with your girlfriends. And while your plans didn't change, your enjoyment of it sure as hell did. Your ability to maintain present focus is gone. You're probably listening to conversations at dinner, but 50% of your brain is focused on your significant other. And again, that is the reason why they sabotage. Not because they don't want you to go somewhere or do something, although, it's part of the larger picture, but it's really about they need to regain control and access and power over your internal dialogue, your emotions, your thoughts, your feelings about yourself, about the situation. If they can get you thinking you're a terrible person for going out with your friends because they said they were sick last minute, that's a lot of power and control they have. And that's scary. So at the end, I'm going to give some tips and strategies on how to set boundaries for this, because believe it or not, these situations are, I would say, probably one of the easiest, now again, easiest for those of you not watching. I'm using air quotes, but if you go to YouTube, you'll be able to see the air quotes. The easiest or easier situations to set boundaries is this one, is the sabotaging and the ruining defense. And we'll get into why. So the event's not about them, right? We get that, okay? They don't like these types of things because it doesn't benefit them in any way. How does it benefit them if you go out with your girlfriends? I mean, it actually really doesn't do anything, but they could be concerned that you're going to talk about the abuse. They could be concerned that your friends are going to talk to you about how they can't stand your boyfriend or your girlfriend. They don't have control or access or power over the dialogue that's going to happen at dinner. And that inability to access that control, access that power, tortures them. Absolutely tortures them. They get angry. They get rageful. They get just really I'm not even uncomfortable because they get uncomfortable, but just ragey, angry, just furious, frustrated. They can't get to you emotionally, cognitively. Here's the other one. And this is, again, it has to do with the power and control, but more about access to the emotions. There is a misconception, I'll say, that when we talk about love bombing and hoovering and those behaviors of getting you back into the relationship, trying to get you break up or you get to a fight or they get caught cheating or stealing money, or, doing shady things behind your back. They get caught, they apologize, and then next thing you know, they're coming home with a designer bag, they're coming home with a diamond bracelet, they're coming home with flowers to apologize. They obviously don't mean the apology. We know this. They act sad or they act remorseful. They act like they have empathy, but they do not. It doesn't benefit them. However, let's take the promotion, for example. Let's say you get a promotion, and with that promotion comes an all expense paid vacation to Hawaii. Or they are relocating you and they're paying for your housing for 3 years, let's say. Or you get something that in some way, shape, or form would simultaneously benefit them or make them look good. Okay. Let's say you're accepting an award at an event and it's a huge event and all, these big wigs are going to be there and all these people that have a lot of authority and power and notoriety, and your significant other wants that so badly. They want that limelight. So it makes them look good if they're there. So there are things that may benefit the narcissist. And so for that reason, they may play along with this. But once they get their need met, once that benefit is up, they will in some way punish you, sabotage because of the promotion. It doesn't go away. It's still there, okay? Because it's important to you and it doesn't involve them. So let's take a wedding, okay? Let's say that you're invited to a relative's wedding. That wedding in no way, shape, or form benefits the narcissist at all. Family members, having to just be present and be there, and maybe they don't want to go, right? Maybe those family members don't like them and they know that, right? There's a million reasons why they may not want to go. But most importantly, let's say if they're the best man, let's put that aside, but just they're going as a guest, not in the wedding party. It doesn't benefit them in any way. If they don't have any personal gain from going to that wedding, but they know that it is so important to you because it's your favorite cousin, let's say, you can bet that they're going to do something, start something prior to that wedding. And it doesn't even have to be an argument. It could be, air quotes again on YouTube, they could accidentally stain your dress with red wine. And why does that matter? What does that have to do with anything? Because they know that your emotions and your thoughts are focused on something and someone else other than them. And what is a good way to bring that back to them? Ruin something that you value. Ruin something that makes you happy, like the gorgeous dress that you have been waiting to wear to your favorite cousin's wedding that now has a massive red stain of red wine on your gorgeous dress. I can tell you right now, that's going to change your mood. That's going to change the thought process, because now, if you're already at the wedding, you're going to be thinking about it all night. You're going to look really bad in pictures. You say to yourself, your dress is just an eyesore now. And everybody's coming up to you asking, oh my gosh, what happened to your dress? And a million people have told you to use seltzer water and you can't hear about the seltzer water anymore. On and on. Your night is now officially ruined by the stain on your dress. And see, these are the nuanced behaviors that oftentimes get missed. And you can imagine if you were to try to explain this behavior to somebody, to a family member. How about this? Let's say you're in therapy and the therapist, to no fault of their own, just doesn't specialize in narcissistic abuse and that's not their thing. So they really don't have that nuanced understanding. No different than me not having a nuanced understanding of anorexia. Do I know what it is? Yes. Can I treat it? No, probably not. I wouldn't do a good job. I don't know enough about it. It's such a nuanced behavior, so many little behaviors and intertwining things. I would have no idea. Let's say that you say to this therapist how your night was ruined because you think that your significant other purposely spilled red wine on your dress to ruin your night. Even saying it to a friend, saying it out loud, in isolation of all the other gaslighting and manipulation and all the other things that go on that are subtle, but it's the culmination of them. You're pulling one of those tiny things out of context and telling people that your significant other that they think you have a great relationship with because they don't know any different. And the therapist, right? They just think maybe you're unhappy or you're depressed or you're anxious. You pull out one single thing out of context and standing alone. That sounds batshit crazy. What do you mean? Why would he deliberately spill red wine on your dress? That this doesn't make any sense. Does he ever do that stuff like that? And it's so hard to talk to people about it and explain it to people because that one incident alone, it really does make zero sense. But in conjunction with everything else, and we're going to get into the blueprint, I like to call it, in conjunction with everything else, it fits beautifully. But how do you convey that at a wedding? How do you convey that to the therapist? How do you convey that to friends? It's very difficult to do. So why does this matter? Well, now your night has been consumed by the state. How does that benefit the narcissist? Here's why. Because, and this is where I get like the chill, like the ughiness, the ughs. The narcissist created a situation within a context of something that you valued and that you were looking forward to, that you held very dear to you, was able to control your emotional state. Period. The narcissist was able to control your emotional state. And that's really scary, right? So this is why they sabotage these events, these occasions. The other reason why oftentimes they may sabotage these things, let's say it's a holiday dinner, let's say it's Christmas dinner, and all your family's going to be there, okay? And they know you're really close with your mom and you're really close with your sister. And clearly they hate that. They also know that you've left numerous times, you've left the relationship numerous times and stayed with them for 2 weeks at a time, but then we get back together. So the narcissist knows that these family members know about the abuse, or at least some of the abuse, or at least know something's not right. Are they worried? No, they're not worried. The only thing they care about is that now it makes them look bad. That's it. They don't have remorse. They don't have empathy. They look bad. So if there's a massive argument that happens before Christmas dinner or at Christmas dinner, it may cause you or them or both of you to leave early, to go home, or not go at all, or go and be in a horrific mood so that you don't even feel up to talking to your mom and your sister. So that's an example of not only has the narcissist controlled your emotions, But they've controlled the situation so much that they've also controlled your behaviors, right? Maybe made you leave early or shut down because you're so angry. You don't even want to talk to anybody. Therefore, you can't talk about the abuse. So it's these tricky, tiny little things that, again, in isolation, don't make a lot of sense. But big picture, absolutely do. So, okay. So what do we do with this? How can I help you with these things? So here's the part of it, and I say fascinating very delicately because I don't think any of this is fascinating in a excited kind of way. I think it's fascinating in the sense of in a narcissist quest to be really special and unique and stand out or be the victim or, woe is me, everything happens worse to me, right? Like I get a paper cut and yours is a gaping hole. Or I stubbed my toe and you lost your whole leg. I mean, like it never ends, right? But here's the thing. In their quest to be unique, in their quest to be sneaky and sly, they are the most predictable people on the planet. Definitely the most dangerous, definitely the most toxic, but definitely the most predictable. Why is that good? Because, and this we will talk about in a different episode, but our brains are lazy. Our brains like shortcuts. Our brains like black and white, all or nothing. It's easier. And when we're stressed and when we're lazy, we just go all or nothing. To think in the gray area is really, really difficult. So when we become educated consumers of narcissistic behaviors, we start to pick out patterns. And the reason why our brains like this and get a sense of calm is because our brains, like I said, like structure and order. They like to be able to predict what comes next. They don't want gray area. Okay. That's way harder and wastes a lot of energy. They like all or nothing, which is why when we're stressed, when we're depressed, and when we're anxious, we look at things very black and white, all or nothing. Everything's either all good or all bad. I'm going to fail or I'm going to pass. He loves me, he's going to abandon me. And there's that dichotomy. So when you have this blueprint of behaviors and these patterns that you have noticed, let's say, or picked up on over the years, or you're not in a narcissistic relationship, but you're listening to me and you're learning about it so that you can predict it and see it a mile away so you don't get into it, or you're able to help somebody else. You can prepare a behavioral response way before the situation even occurs. Because you know with 100% certainty that there is a good chance that the narcissist is going to do something on your birthday, on their birthday, at a funeral, at a holiday dinner, at a work event, at a school event, anything that is important to you that you value on a kid's birthday, one of their own children. And so if you know that on these important occasions, that something like this is going to happen, you can prepare. What does that look like? You can have a mantra that you're going to say if they make a comment to you, if they start an argument with you. You're going to, we talk about gray rock, right? You're going to become extremely neutral, fact-based, boring. You are not going to engage them in their delusions, in their manipulation, in their gaslighting. You are not going to play the game. I repeat, you are not going to play the game. But if you want to win the game, you go totally neutral. You do not allow them access to your emotions, to your thoughts, to the situation, to the behavior. You do not give them that. And you do that by having extremely neutral responses. Something like, I'm not going to have that conversation now. Or we're going to talk about this later. Now, that you're not going to be able to control their response to that, right? So these mantras, these boundaries are for you and you only. They are not to change the other person's behavior. Even when they're not a narcissist, it's not to change their behavior. It sure as hell isn't going to change the narcissist's behavior. These are for you and you only, to walk away feeling more empowered, more in control, less frazzled, less exhausted, so that you can then go to these events and enjoy them and have energy to put in conversations with other people. They want you, the narcissist wants you to battle with them in this back and forth. Don't do it. Have neutral mantras ahead of time. You prep, even write them in your phone so you can read them. So there's mantras that you can do. There are certain, let's say you're not together, right? Okay, let's say you broke up, but every year on your birthday, they'll do something. Let's say you share custody. Let's say it's an ex-wife, and on your birthday every year, your ex-wife is going to just do something to piss you off. She's going to forget to pick the kids up. Forget is in air quotes. She's going to deliberately drop them off too early or pick them up too late. She's deliberately going to say that she has COVID and she can't take the kids. Something is going to happen. And if you know this ahead of time, you can put certain structures in place because you can't stop them from doing it. And what does that look like in this situation? You know when your birthday is. Get a babysitter a month in advance on backup, just in case, because they want to have control and access and power over you on your day. They want to have control over your behaviors and your emotions from afar. You can't go out if you have your kids. You can't go to dinner now. You had a date, can't go now. Wasted what you're wearing, had a whole night planned. But if we know this is going to happen, I know it sounds really silly, but think about it. You have a backup babysitter, problem solved. Or a family member to watch your kids just in case on backup, problem solved. You're blocking their behaviors indirectly. And you're blocking their behaviors with neutral, appropriate responses. And when you give appropriate responses over and over again to somebody who is acting out, that acting out gets louder. So they start to get frazzled and unraveled because their attempts to control you aren't working. So it's super important to respond in appropriate ways, even though it pains you to do it. I get it. But something as simple as getting a family member on backup just in case. The other thing is block their number for the day. Don't check block their emails for the day. Block them on Instagram, block them on Facebook. Do what you need to do, but block them that day. So there's little things. If you know ahead of time, a certain event is coming up, think about these types of behavioral responses you can do. It does not involve them, that does not require their assistance, that does not require their approval, and have it set up. They're not going to like it. They're not going to like it. Not because you now can go to dinner, but because they don't have access to you. They cannot control your emotions from afar. And if they can't reach you, let's say it's your birthday, you go to work, and your significant other starts an argument with you on your birthday before you have to go into work. So you're frazzled. You go into work. They're calling you nonstop, screaming, arguing, texting, and this is your birthday. Day's shot. You're exhausted. You're arguing back and forth. It's a mess. Now you don't even want to go out to dinner with your friends and with your family that night because you're exhausted and you just don't have it in you. So what did they do? They gained access to your emotions all day, ruined your birthday, took your attention away from your job by having to read these texts constantly, your phone beeping, this and that, which you can't turn off your phone, let's say, because you need it for work. And then they sabotage your plans for the evening because you were so goddamn exhausted that you didn't even go. So they managed to control every aspect of you. The byproduct of it is that you didn't go out and that you didn't enjoy your birthday. But the main goal was to gain access and control over you on a day that was important to you. They wanted to deprive you of obtaining that importance. They wanted to deprive you of whatever it was that you were seeking to get, whether it was love, whether it was affection, whether it was compliments, whatever it is. They deprived you that opportunity. So when you see these patterns and you see this blueprint, I promise you, and I say this to all my patients, once you see it, you will never unsee it. Once you see these patterns, you are going to see it everywhere. You're going to know exactly what's going to happen, when they're going to do it, and how they're going to do it. And when that happens, that click, right? It just happens. It's like this epiphany almost. The narcissist starts to realize that they're losing control. We'll talk about that later. But by setting these boundaries, by being able to predict this behavior, you are taking control. You are controlling the things that you are able to control. You are able to control your own behaviors, your own responses. We can't control our thoughts. Thoughts come in and out, right? But you're not holding on to them. You're letting them pass, right? Because you knew this was going to happen. You predicted it based on previous evidence, right? But the biggest thing, and I said this in the very beginning, the biggest thing is that you now can walk away from these situations feeling empowered, feeling in control, feeling like yourself, and not being under the spell of somebody else. Because like I said before, it is extremely scary. It's a scary place to be. So I hope that that gives you guys some sense of why. And I know in previous episodes I've used the word function, and I'm going to use the word function constantly. But I hope you guys can see the difference between the behaviors on the surface, like the stain on your dress, or the broken laptop, or the picking an argument with you, that it's not about that. It's not about the wedding or this or that. It's about having access to you and having so much control over you indirectly that they're able to control your choices, your thoughts, your emotions, your behaviors. That's the function of why they do what they do. It's the why. It's not the what, it's the why. Why did they put the stain on? Did they, cause a stain on my dress? Why did they start an argument with me of all times today at this time, at this place about this person? Why on this particular day did they do X, Y, and Z? Not, can you believe they did this, this, and this? Which I understand. But I want you instead to start to ask, why? What's the underlying reason? What are they trying to gain control over? The function is always going to be some sort of plan or need to gain control over the situation, whatever that looks like. So that's the most important thing I want you to take from this, The other important thing I want you to take from this is that pattern of behavior, once you become aware of it, and hopefully this episode will help you do just that, you can start to write it down. Start to write the patterns down in your phone, because with the gaslighting and the manipulation, the fogginess, the confusion, and all the foggy crap that starts to float around in your brain when you're dealing with narcissistic abuse, you may forget, you may start doubting yourself. They may gaslight you so bad that they just make you feel completely crazy that you think that they faked being sick or that they purposely ruined your dress. So write it down. Write down somewhere safe. Write down, maybe in your notes section in your phone, you can lock it. Write down where it happened, what was said, what was done, time of day, what was going on that day, what kind of event, that kind of thing. And maybe not all of them are directly linked to some sort of event they're going to sabotage, but I guarantee you start to see the patterns. And for no other reason other than it helps you not feel crazy. When you see it on paper and you're objective to it, it reassures you that, yeah, this is happening. And the more you do that, and the more you see these themes, the more you become an educated consumer of the narcissist behaviors, the more empowered, I promise you, you're going to feel. The easier it will become to set boundaries. So that's all I got. I hope that was helpful. And just keep at it. Just keep at it. And you can do this. And I will see you guys next week on Next Up Narcissism. Everybody have a great day.
Hi, everyone. It's Dr. Z, and I am thrilled to announce the launch of my summer support series, Narcissistic Abuse Live Virtual Support Group. This is for those who are either currently experiencing narcissistic abuse or who have experienced narcissistic abuse in relationships of all kinds. You can register for the support group series on my website, drjamiezuckerman.com, and click the Workshops tab and scroll until you see Summer Support Series Live Virtual Support Group. This is a 4-session support group. Each group is an hour long from July 8th, July 15th, July 22nd, and July 29th, Mondays, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Again, to register and to get more info, head to my website, drjamiezuckerman.com, click on the Workshops tab, or if you have any questions or need additional information, please email info@drjamiezuckerman.com. Again, that's info@drjamiezuckerman.com.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Next Up Narcissism. I hope you found it useful, but most importantly, I hope you found it validating. Want to work one-on-one with me? Visit my website at drjamiezuckerman.com to book a personalized coaching session, and be sure to check out my on-demand workshops on topics like co-parenting with a narcissist, life after leaving, anxiety management strategies, and more. Again, that's drjamiezuckerman.com. You'll also find links to my interactive workbooks, merchandise, resources, and newsletter sign up. Next Up Narcissism is as much your podcast as it is mine. I want to hear your feedback and what you want to hear. So make sure to leave a podcast review wherever you listen, or send an email to nextup@drjamiezuckerman.com. Again, that's nextup@drjamiezuckerman.com. Be sure to subscribe so that you never miss an episode. And as always, thank you so much for listening. Make sure to tune in next week to see what's up next on Next Up Narcissism.